NASA, short for the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, operates independently and is associated with the U.S. government. Established in 1958, the agency has significantly expanded our knowledge of the cosmos and the vast space beyond our Earth. NASA has always been a magnet for inquisitive individuals, and among them is Bill Vaile. Bill's professional background was marked by roles demanding not only intelligence and curiosity, but also a logical mindset. From serving as a sonar supervisor on a nuclear submarine to spending years as a pilot and a robotics engineer, he accumulated diverse experiences. Later, he assumed the role of an operations quality manager for a company producing critical hardware for NASA's spaceflights, emphasizing the importance of attention to detail and keen observation in all these positions. Bill's approach to his work was characterized by a profound desire to comprehend, rather than merely guess. Gifted with a logical and analytical mindset, he would delve into learning and research to gain genuine understanding. His relentless curiosity was a driving force in his life. Bill, along with his family, did not conform to conventional norms. Bill was the go-to person for his friends seeking straightforward and rational explanations. However, his life took an unexpected turn in 2002 when he finalized his divorce. Feeling weary and in need of a fresh start, Bill resigned from his aerospace job and returned to his hometown in Arlington, Texas, to reconnect with his younger brother Bob. Eager for a change, Bill explored various options for his future. He stumbled upon a job opportunity at the water purification company, where his brother worked, and decided to take the leap. Alongside this, he searched for a new home and was pleasantly surprised to find one well within his budget. The deal seemed almost too good to be true, as if they were practically giving the house away. Early in Bill's tenure at his new job, his employer received a call from a client. Someone requested a precise 5 p.m. arrival at her house, and Bill, eager to showcase his competence to colleagues, accepted the task. Driving through the suburban streets of Arlington, he kept a vigilant eye on his watch to ensure punctuality. Upon reaching the destination, an ordinary-looking home, the first sounds he encountered near the door were the unsettling screams of a woman. Sensing something awry and hoping the appointment might be canceled, Bill proceeded to the front door exactly at 5 p.m. Despite knocking, the woman's yelling persisted, with no apparent pause. Amid the muffled screams, he distinctly heard, "In the name of Christ, I command you to leave these men." The situation was undeniably strange. As the door creaked open, a peculiar woman stood in the narrow gap, wearing a blank expression. Without uttering a word, she pointed a long, bony finger at him and abruptly shut the door. A sense of unease and foreboding engulfed Bill, prompting him to sprint to his company vehicle as swiftly as his legs would allow. He promptly called his employer, informing him that he would never entertain a call from this client again. Throughout the day, the earlier events lingered in Bill's mind. Despite his rational instincts, he couldn't shake the feeling that the woman was trying to communicate something strange to him. After concluding his shift, he returned home and settled in for the night. Bill was abruptly awakened, convinced he was experiencing an earthquake as his bed shook violently, shaking his bed almost to the point of knocking him off. Abruptly, the shaking ceased, leaving Bill bewildered but wide awake. He inspected his surroundings to determine the cause, finding no other signs of disturbance in his house. The clocks indicated around 3 a.m., and he remained skeptical that an earthquake had caused the unsettling event. Attempting to reproduce the bed shaking proved futile, and Bill, attributing it to a dream, lay back down. He resolved to verify the possibility of an earthquake the next day. However, subsequent checks revealed no record of such seismic activity. Following this incident, doves and various birds began congregating in the trees outside his home to such an extent that the realtor who had sold him the house noticed. The realtor, utterly puzzled, observed an unusual phenomenon. A pervasive and almost suffocating aroma of bacon filled Bill's home, an oddity considering the distinctive scent associated with cooking bacon. It seemed as if someone were consistently cooking an entire package on his stove. Bill also became accustomed to encountering mysterious cold spots within his house. Despite his attempts to find a logical explanation, attributing it to the air conditioner, insulation, or a draft, none of his rationalizations made sense. As night fell, the occurrences took on a darker and more sinister turn. Bill would wake in the early hours to the unsettling sensation of small creatures, akin to cats or dogs, running across his feet. However, his dogs were confined to their kennels during the night. When they were outside, they would growl and bark at seemingly nothing in various areas of the house. Initially, the activity was so subtle that it could be easily overlooked. Even when it couldn't, Bill attempted to rationalize it, searching for logical explanations and dismissing it in his mind. However, a turning point occurred when Bill was watching TV one evening. As he sat in his house, a water bottle that had been resting on his kitchen counter suddenly flew across the room and bounced off the wall beside his head. It was at this moment that Bill, despite his reliance on logic and experience, had to concede that the inexplicable occurrences he was facing fell within the realm of the paranormal. With no other plausible explanation, he had to acknowledge the supernatural nature of the events. After months of enduring unseen forces playing with him, the acceptance that it was of a supernatural nature marked a turning point. The phenomena intensified beyond mere sightings, now affecting Bill's surroundings. Electronic technicians became frequent visitors to his house, addressing issues like constant light flickering, computer failures, and television malfunctions. Many technicians expressed that they had never encountered anything like the disturbances inside Bill's house throughout their entire careers. In addition to the strange electrical fluctuations, Bill's phone started making calls on its own at odd hours, often around 3 a.m. In an attempt to resolve the issue, Bill contacted his phone company, and during his conversation with the representative, the situation took an even more perplexing turn. In the midst of their conversation, a strange and aggressive voice emerged from the static, speaking in an incomprehensible language. Both Bill and the phone company representative were unable to understand it. The representative, bewildered, confirmed hearing the voice and expressed confusion, as they were using a secure line that should be inaccessible to any third party. Attempting to get a clearer understanding, Bill called his friend Michael, a sound engineer, only to encounter the same mysterious voice on the phone line. Bill, sensing an ominous presence, urged Michael to hang up, but Michael had already started recording the conversation. Strangely, upon reviewing the recorded audio after the call ended, there was no trace of the peculiar voice. Seeking further confirmation and validation, Bill invited his brother Bob over to witness the phenomena and determine whether he was experiencing something real or if he was losing his sanity. Bill asked Bob to stand in his bedroom closet with the lights off, a peculiar request that Bob found odd, but agreed to nonetheless. After spending some time in the closet, Bob emerged somewhat disgruntled. When Bill inquired about any unusual experiences, Bob initially dismissed it, mentioning that the closet needed cleaning. However, he later disclosed that during his time in the closet, 2 large boxes had fallen behind him, and the cord for the overhead light had struck him in the face, which startled him enough not to discuss it at the time. During another visit to Bill's house, while Bob was in the den writing down information for an upcoming appointment, he heard rustling in the trash can out of his line of sight. Initially ignoring it, Bob would later reveal that he began to sense a strange presence. Bob initially considered the possibility that Bill's dogs were rummaging through the trash, prompting him to investigate. However, to his surprise, the trash remained undisturbed, and as he passed by, he noticed that Bill's dogs were securely crated in their kennels. On another occasion, while making a brief pit stop at Bill's house on the way to an appointment, Bob used the restroom and observed the ceiling fan swaying erratically on its own. Initially attributing it to the AC unit, he later discovered upon inquiry that there was no AC unit or ductwork near the location of the moving light. During a dinner visit with his wife, Bob noticed something unusual while Bill was watching television. In the periphery of his vision, Bill detected movement, raising further intrigue and concern about the strange occurrences in the house. He rose promptly, eager to confirm that he wasn't the sole witness. Urging Bob to sit and observe the TV, Bill hoped to validate the peculiar occurrences. Soon, shock registered on Bob's face as he noticed movement in the closet. When Bob's wife joined them and took a seat, she, too, gasped after witnessing something unusual. All three of them sketched what they saw, and to their astonishment, the drawings were identical, a 2-3 feet tall figure resembling an imp. For those unfamiliar, imps are demons in European folklore, characterized as small, mischievous, goblin-like beings. They were often considered familiar spirits of witches or personal attendants to the devil. Following this revelation, Bill shared his experiences, and Bob extended his support. Despite the challenging circumstances, Bill appreciated Bob's offer of support. However, he opted to decline, fearing that leaving would be conceding to the torment and admitting defeat. Subsequently, Bill's bedroom became a consistent source of distress, with the bed occasionally shaking violently and, at other times, just enough to disrupt his sleep. Small hands would press down on his mattress, and he would even experience impacts from underneath. Sensing the presence of invisible beings joining him in bed, he often heard loud knocks, bangs, and scratches emanating from within his walls. Unexplained scratches and bruises appeared on his body, and he started witnessing the apparition of a ghost cat, accompanied by strange cold mists within his house. The atmosphere in his home swiftly transformed into one infused with a dark and ominous presence. Bill yearned for an end to the torment, aspiring to reclaim both his home and his life. In his quest for resolution, he delved into extensive research on the occult and the paranormal, scouring online resources and literature to gain a better understanding of the forces at play and, hopefully, find a remedy. The relentless activity began to take a toll on Bill's health, leading to frequent hospital visits. Fearing that the malevolent presence not only tormented him but also impacted his well-being, Bill decided to seek assistance from a paranormal group. However, his journey through various teams proved challenging, as he declined collaboration with many due to their lack of a scientific approach. Bill's search for assistance led him to a team called Did You See That, or DIST, which, in his view, possessed the right logical and rational mindset needed to thoroughly investigate the mysterious entities that had seemingly invaded his life. Encouraged by this find, he promptly obtained their contact information and made the call. Little did Bill know that this would be the start of a journey down an unforeseen rabbit hole. One Saturday night, another knock echoed at Bill's door. Over time, he had been inviting various groups of strangers into his home to investigate the ongoing disturbances. Many had come and gone, usually spending just a night without providing any real help. This time, when he opened the door, only one man stood there to greet him, Brian Hall, the founder of DWest, a paranormal team asserting that their focus was not on hunting ghosts. In their quest for answers, Brian and his friends founded DWest in 2005, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area of Texas. They conducted investigations and shared their findings on MySpace, attracting emails and calls from individuals seeking their assistance and expertise in the paranormal. DST followed a systematic approach, initiating the process with a single team member conducting an assessment of the location before involving the rest of the team and any equipment. Brian swiftly identified the oppressive atmosphere within Bill's house. After completing his initial rounds, he gave the green light for the rest of the team to enter and commence the second phase. The team comprised various experts in their respective fields, each equipped with a discerning eye for anything that might explain unusual sounds or phenomena in an ordinary household. They meticulously searched the house from top to bottom. Upon ensuring they had identified potential sources of false evidence, the team ventured outside and returned with their equipment. They established a command post in the living room, strategically placing cameras and audio recorders throughout the house to capture any lurking phenomena. That night, however, proved relatively uneventful. With little substantial information gathered, the team departed, leaving Bill to recount the investigation to his mother over a phone call. While conversing with his mother, Bill heard 3 distinct knocks, as if the house itself were proclaiming a malevolent victory. Unlike the previous investigators, DIST would make subsequent returns over several months, persistently probing the home for its dark and sinister secrets. Over time, activity gradually revealed itself to the team members, including encounters with shadow people. The DIST team encountered various paranormal phenomena during their return visits, including shadow people, imps, and the disembodied apparition of a ghost-like cat. In one particular experiment, the team introduced lasers to cast a grid in a darkened bedroom. This technology aimed to reveal even the slightest movements invisible to the naked eye. The first 2 nights of the experiment yielded no significant results, but the third night, when the laser grid was employed, brought a startling turn of events. While sitting in the command center, Bill, Brian, and the team heard a loud crashing noise emanating from Bill's bedroom. Upon investigating, they discovered the laser device on the floor, thrown by a powerful and unseen force. The device had been hurled with such force that it struck the bed before bouncing off. After the laser device was forcefully thrown and found near a dresser, the team initially checked the cameras only to discover that their batteries had been completely drained. This recurring issue, common during investigations at the house, posed a significant challenge in obtaining visual evidence. Such incidents are frequently reported in paranormal investigations, particularly in more ominous cases, where it seems as though the entities feed off the battery life. The team observed instances where they could audibly discern the moment their cameras were being switched off by an unseen force. Fortunately, they realized that the audio recording devices remained operational during these occurrences. Upon reviewing the audio recordings, they not only heard the loud crashing sound but also picked up a disembodied voice saying, "He's coming back, time to put it back on." Despite the absence of visual evidence, Brian was determined to capture the phenomenon on video. During their subsequent visit to the house, they brought more cameras and additional laser grids. Setting up the equipment as before, the newest team member, Sean, laid in the master bedroom and called out into the darkness, inviting any presence to give them a sign. In an instant, the laser moved with violent force, prompting Sean to cry out in surprise. The team rushed into the bedroom to gather equipment and assess the evidence. Surprisingly, all but one camera had been completely drained of power, and the lone functioning camera, which had been pointing directly at the laser, captured footage showing the laser being forcefully shoved. Additionally, a strange mist formed around the laser, transforming the scene into a violent spectacle. During another investigation, Bill invited his brother Bob, Bob's wife Cindy, and his friend Chuck, along with Chuck's wife, Melissa. Chuck Kelly had been a longtime friend of Bill through their shared interest in golf. To describe Chuck as a skeptic when it came to the paranormal would be an understatement. In contrast, Melissa, Chuck's wife, not only believed in the paranormal but was also sensitive to it, enabling her to perceive entities invisible to the naked eye. For a significant period, she had refrained from going near Bill's home due to this sensitivity. Unaware of this, Chuck eventually confronted her, leading her to confess, "There's something in that house that's intelligent and evil. Something that knows that I know, and I'm afraid of what will happen." After Bill reached out to Chuck informed his wife that she needed to speak with Bill because he required her assistance. In their meeting, Bill disclosed the full extent of the ongoing events in his home. Despite being aware of the danger posed by the entity, Melissa was moved by Bill's plight and agreed to join Chuck in the next investigation. On the day of the investigation, she felt a sense of apprehension, sensing the entity's anger at her arrival and its intent to harm her. In her mind's eye, she envisioned a beast resembling an ape hurling itself against the walls and windows of the house, challenging her to enter. Summoning courage, she proceeded inside. Upon entering and being welcomed by Bill, she observed several small, hideous creatures at his feet, beings standing on 2 legs that resembled hunched-over little men. Disturbed, despite noticing beings that no one else seemed to see, Melissa did her best to ignore them and continued exploring the home. When she reached Bill's bedroom, she noted that the imps appeared most comfortable there, playing across the furniture and on the floor. However, halfway into the room, she suddenly froze. Wide-eyed, with her hair standing on end, she felt the presence of something dreadful and intelligent lurking out of her sight, possibly in the closet. Fearing the unknown, she quickly left the bedroom and vowed never to set foot in it again. As the DICE team arrived and set up their equipment, she sat in the living room, where she observed the small creatures gathering around her in a group of 6. The small creatures in the living room exhibited curiosity, sniffing and testing their boundaries with Melissa, yet maintaining a cautious distance. She believed these beings were trapped by the dark entity, employed for mischievous activities, including tormenting Bill in his bedroom with subtle noises and occurrences. As she contemplated this, a commotion emanated from the bedroom where the team was setting up. Melissa witnessed a large black shape leap from that direction onto the chandelier, causing it to swing dangerously close to the ceiling. The figure then darted into a corner, hiding from the investigation team, only to leap onto the chandelier again, sending it bouncing into the opposite hallway. The massive form blocked the entire hallway entrance before vanishing, leaving Melissa bewildered and unsure of how to process what she had just witnessed. She simply collapsed into her chair. The DIST team persuaded Chuck, Melissa's husband, to sit in the closet of Bill's room, assuring him that nothing would happen. With the lights turned off, Chuck patiently waited. After a few minutes of silence, he grew impatient and began speaking loudly to provoke whatever presence was supposed to be there. Initially, nothing changed, but over time, Chuck sensed a shift in the atmosphere, which became heavy and oppressive. Bangs and clicking sounds surrounded him, triggering an instinctive urge to flee as quickly as possible. When Chuck emerged, his wide-eyed and pale-faced appearance spoke volumes. All he could convey was that there was something in that closet. Neither he nor Melissa stayed long after this unsettling experience. Brian Hall, following an extensive investigation, sought the assistance of various experts to aid Bill. Reiki masters, Buddhists, Wiccans, occultists, every possible resource was contacted in an attempt to expel the entities, but regrettably, none of them proved successful. Bill grew accustomed to seeing defeat in the faces of those who earnestly tried to help him, but achieved nothing. As Brian exhausted his ideas, he sent a straightforward email to Bill stating, "You, sir, need a priest." Throughout the trials Bill faced, he grappled with borderline PTSD, living in a perpetual state of hypervigilance, constantly looking over his shoulder and monitoring his surroundings. Bill found himself entangled in the realm of the supernatural, facing an unseen adversary that could observe him and strike at any moment. The suspense robbed him of sleep, and each evening carried the weight of dread. The line between nightmares and reality blurred, and a routine of closing and reopening his eyes to check for disturbances became habitual. Fatigue took its toll, prompting daytime naps to alleviate the overwhelming exhaustion. However, the relentless toll of months turning into years extracted a heavy toll on Bill's health. 2 bouts of pneumonia, 2 heart attacks necessitating stents, and the onset of cluster headaches, previously unknown to Bill, underscored the physical toll of the ongoing paranormal activity. Bill's sole desire was for the ceaseless torment to come to an end. Despite the inner turmoil, he mastered the art of concealing the true extent of his suffering, projecting an illusion of normalcy that affected those who visited his home, resulting in a noticeable decline in visitors and a growing sense of isolation. During the night, he would hear thunderous crashes near his head. Awakening to discover his body covered in scratches, always in sets of 3, he experienced touches, hits, shoves, and even the unsettling sensation of being electrocuted while lying in bed. One night, as he gazed around his room, contemplating the entity plaguing him, his covers were violently ripped from his body, prompting him to sit up in bed. In the dimness of his room, Bill's eyes widened as he observed a dark figure at his footboard, casting an ominous presence. Standing at about 6 feet tall, the figure possessed the silhouette of a man adorned in a large trench coat and a fedora hat, both as black as the abyss. As Bill noticed its presence, it glided towards him with an ethereal quality. What he felt transcended mere fear or dread. It was an encounter with pure evil. The entity traversed the length of the bed, closing in to within 2 feet of his face, only to vanish abruptly. Strikingly, during previous investigations, a dark mass had been captured on tape precisely where this entity had dissipated. It swiftly darted across the room, ascended above the bedroom window, and then dissipated into nothingness. Disturbed by this menacing presence he called the Hat Man, Bill refrained from sharing this unsettling encounter with friends and family. However, it became apparent that the Hat Man extended his appearances beyond Bill. His friend Devin claimed to have encountered the entity, perceiving it as friendly initially, and thus not feeling threatened. Upon learning about the Hat Man's potential danger through examples on the internet, Devon was advised by Bill to avoid any interaction with the entity. Despite the warning, Devon did not heed the advice. The Hat Man continued to manifest before Devon, and in one instance, he described the entity as appearing in Bill's closet with glowing red eyes, uttering unsettling words. Following the ominous encounters with the Hat Man, Devon's behavior took a disturbing turn. He reported hearing a deep, growling voice that seemed to claw at the recesses of his mind, repeatedly saying, "Kill Bill." Devon's emotional state transformed from fear to anger and eventually escalated into violent outbursts. Bill would return home to scenes of havoc, only to discover that the Hat Man had continued to manifest before Devon, influencing his destructive actions. The gravity of the situation became painfully apparent when Devon brandished a large kitchen knife, threatening Bill's life. As Devon unleashed a rampage of destruction within Bill's home, he ominously declared that the Hat Man was present and had come to kill Bill. Faced with this perilous situation, Bill grappled with the realization that the malevolent entity might pose a genuine threat to his life. In an attempt to maintain composure, Bill decided to follow Devon's unusual request and turned off the lights as instructed. However, nothing transpired, and Bill, in a defiant act, demonstrated that the Hat Man had no dominion over him. Despite this assertion, Devon's demeanor continued to intensify, evolving into heightened aggression. Efforts to seek help from both Bill and law enforcement proved futile, leading to a tragic end to their friendship. Bill increasingly viewed the Hat Man as a malevolent force, a central figure of evil around which other unsettling occurrences revolved. Through these harrowing experiences, he began to glean insights into the nature of the phenomena plaguing his life. Acknowledging that he was engaged in an unseen battle with a cunning adversary, Bill realized that this foe employed tactics and strategies, relying on scare tactics to wear him down in a protracted war. As Bill gained more insights, he transformed into a formidable adversary against this relentless assault. Returning from a meeting, Bill decided to take a nap, only to discover imprints resembling hands and feet on his mattress, rendering sleep impossible. Then, a thunderous crash reverberated as if something had struck the side of his house. Fueled by an overwhelming anger, Bill defiantly proclaimed, "I've had enough, and you don't scare me anymore. I'm not the same person you picked on years ago." Confronted with escalating chaos inside his home, Bill defiantly challenged the entity, urging it to reveal itself and engage in a decisive battle. Filled with crashes and booms akin to a tempest, the situation became increasingly intense. Amid the tumult, Bill had an epiphany. Earthly methods and emotions would not suffice. Realizing the missing puzzle piece, he invoked the power of Christ, commanding the entity to leave or face being bound by its worst fears until final judgment. For 30 minutes, he relentlessly repeated these words, confronting the malevolence around him. Finally, a profound peace settled in his home. In the aftermath, Bill experienced a newfound sense of tranquility. Even though occasional incidents continued to occur, Bill no longer sensed the malevolent force that had once plagued his home and life. Nevertheless, the encounter left lasting scars, both physical and mental. Bill grappled with persistent unease, constantly glancing over his shoulder and struggling to find comfort in sleep. The toll on his health, whether from the evil presence or the stress of the events, showed no significant improvement. In the years that followed, Bill immersed himself in the study of demonology, becoming an expert in the field. Driven by a newfound purpose, he established an association dedicated to aiding others in their battles against unseen adversaries in their lives. Bill founded United Paranormal International, and his harrowing story gained recognition through an episode on Paranormal Witness in 2013. While condensed versions of his experiences circulated online, Bill chose to provide a comprehensive account in his 2022 book, Satanic Warfare: Tactics of the Demonic. In this book, he shares his personal narrative and recounts the perspectives of eyewitnesses who were part of the events. Bill delves into his understanding of the demonic forces that haunted him and others, However, he emphasizes caution for those attempting to employ his methods. According to him, spiritual warfare operates as a form of psychological warfare, leveraging fear tactics to gradually break down individuals on a spiritual level. The essence of Bill's insights into demonic encounters revolves around the notion that spiritual warfare is rooted in negative emotions like fear, stress, anger, and societal discord. As the victim's strength wanes, the demonic forces supposedly gain potency. Bill advocates for a fearless stance against demons, emphasizing that these fallen angels have limitations and can only enter lives to the extent permitted by the individual. According to him, demons aren't omnipotent. They resort to scare tactics and deceit. Recognizing their presence prompts the need to invoke the name of Christ for protection. Having since retired, Bill has moved out of the house where he endured years of torment. Bill currently resides in Arkansas with his wife, Caroline Vaile, and their son, Richard. Bill's story serves as a cautionary tale about the dual nature of curiosity, a door that can lead to both knowledge and understanding, but also to a dark abyss that may linger in our lives. It's a reminder not to let curiosity become a pathway for unforeseen darkness. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed the content, please like, share, and comment. If you haven't subscribed yet, consider subscribing with notifications on. Your support means a lot in the ever-changing landscape of YouTube. Thank you.